What is good? We're back. We're live. We're rolling. But today we're going redraft mock for your pleasure. We got a one quarterback, no tight end premium, just pretty standard redraft material here. Like we've been talking about, we will be rolling out a redraft channel here shortly on the YouTubes over the next month or so. But we want to get some redrafts rolling on this channel to get prepped and primed and ready to go. We've been working in the streets, getting some ADP together. So we'll have some redraft ADP very shortly. We're working on the best ball stuff. So we got a lot of good stuff coming your way. So be sure to check it out and check in, subscribe, like, all that jazz. Chev, how you doing, man?
You know me, brother. Any day on this side of the dirt's a good one.
That's right. That's right. All right, Big Co, how you doing, man?
That it is. What a great day. What a great day to be great.
You gonna fire this mock up or what?
Yeah, man. I was trying to get the introductions out of the way and make sure Girl Dad was green, but we can go ahead and fire that bad boy up.
Let's fire
30
it up.
seconds, big dog. Hopefully you're in here.
We got 30-second clock going for your pleasure. So I'm interested to see how this plays out because I have only done one redraft mock in our ADP building. I've been hitting the best balls pretty hard on the Patreon side of things. So I think it's, obviously not totally dissimilar of how at least the first couple of rounds will kind of play out here. So certainly interesting because no super flex, no tight end premium. So how you feeling in these redraft streets right now, Chev? Because, I'd probably say you're the furthest along in the rewiring of the brain a little bit for redraft.
Man, it's tough to get. It's really tough to get a handle on what, what's what and what's going to be what. Like I would have never guessed that Saquon Barkley would make it to the 1-6 in a one quarterback, no tight end premium, no super flex, just one quarterback, normal scoring PPR. I just wouldn't assume that Saquon Barkley would be available in the 1-6. So I think just when I thought I got it dialed in, now I got a whole other set of possibilities to consider because in any redraft that I'm in, if Saquon Barkley is available past the 1-2, I'm smashing the button.
Yeah, I mean, I the only one I did, he made it to 104. Seemed like Chase and Jefferson were the hot commodities there. Bijan going 2. So, Big Co, how you feeling, man? What's your play? You going quarterback? You going see, not quite rewired. You going wide receiver or running back to start things off?
Two things I'm looking for in here tonight is I want to have, because again, yes, redraft, there's no draft picks to be traded. There's no nothing. This is your team. This is what you get. And this is redraft, not best ball. So you have to manage this team and start your lineup every week. So I think I want to get I want a good, quote unquote, good quarterback. I want one of the better quarterbacks that I don't have to pay incredibly too much for. As in, if I'm starting a dynasty league, I'm okay starting out with not the best quarterbacks because I think my team's going to be so good I can wheel and deal and work my way up the quarterback ladder. In a 1-year scenario, fellas, we got to get off to a hot start because we got to make the playoffs first and foremost.
Take that money back.
You got to be able to get, if you can't get into playoffs, you can't get lucky week 16 and 17, 15, 16, 17. So I want a decent quarterback. I want a decent tight end, which a lot of people will be like, you're an idiot. But I think that, you take a lot of the randomness out of it when you're playing redraft now. As I got really deep into the dynasty, turning corner, coming right back here in the redraft, it's like there's so much fluidness that you can have with a dynasty roster and so much work that you can do to it. To come back around and redraft, I got weeks 1 through 14 or whatever, and I got to be good enough to get into playoffs quickly, right? And then depending on the bench sizes, Chev, I want you to share that with us. I mean, Casey and I haven't been playing much redraft in a few years. It's a lot of leagues, we're even 4 or 5 roster spots deep. How many roster spots are normal, et cetera, et cetera? That's what I'm looking for. Obviously, you need running backs and wide receivers, but I want a decent tight end. I want a decent quarterback just so I can play the game every week.
Right. Yeah. I mean, taking the guesswork out of it at the onesie positions is I guess the question so to complete the thought, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, but to complete the thought, taking the guesswork out of the onesie positions and then having that positional advantage, like for instance, the guy Zelius which he popped in for the one on Friday. Appreciate you tapping in, brother. He's taking Saquon Barkley and Brock Bowers here. Now, Big Co, the question I guess is, would you go ahead and solidify your onesies? And if Lamar makes it back to you right here, is that the smash player, Josh Allen? Josh Allen, Lamar. You don't have to take Jaden Daniels in the third from what I've seen so far.
Yeah,
But
let me answer that question in 30 minutes. Let me see how this board plays out. Like, I mean, when I say I want one of the good ones, I don't necessarily. I would love to have Josh Allen, and of course, Trey McBride goes. But I guess what I mean was like, you don't get all I'm okay streaming a quarterback, right? I'm okay streaming a quarterback, and I have a tight end if I need to, but I would like to be on the lookout, hardcore on the lookout. Like in a redraft scenario, you don't want to leave your draft with major holes. You could do that in Dynasty all day long. Casey says it. That's what Casey's been telling us. Like, if you are drafting your Dynasty team the right way, you're probably going to be a little bit lower in one spot or another, just because if you didn't force something. If you force something, that's how you lose value. In Dynasty, it's all about how much value you carry forward that you can work your equity with. Like in this redraft team right here, I need some running backs to be able to play with early. I need some good receivers so I can count on them, so I don't know how quickly. I can already tell you I don't want Josh Allen because we're halfway through the third, and Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. It's somewhere I'm gonna probably draw that line. It's like, all right, do I want Jalen Hurts? Like, Josh Allen is probably not even on my radar because he's so highly priced, and that might be the wrong way to play it. That team one, Jamar Chase, Josh Allen, Trey McBride, like that is a fantastic start. Let's see how it plays out. And he's got three players, the top players at their positions, with that 1-1 pick right there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, let me jump in here. Let me get tomorrow's podcast listeners caught up. Sorry about that. We got Chase at the 101, Bijan at the 102. We got Jefferson, Gibbs, CeeDee Lamb, Barkley, Genty coming in at 107. Then we got Puka, Derrick Henry, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins filling out the first round at 112. Then we come down. We got Achane at the 201. We got Drake London at the 202. Brian Thomas, CMC at the 204. Then we got AJ Brown, Lad McConkey, Brock Bowers, Bucky Irving, JSN, Josh Jacobs at the 210. Then we have the 211, T. Higgins, the 212. Big Co was alluding to Josh Allen. Then we have Trey McBride, no third round reversal, coming in at the 301. So Girl Dad off the top, he goes Chase, Josh Allen, McBride. So he's only missing one box until he's got at least one of everything, right? Then we got Marvin Harrison at 302. We got Tyreek Hill at 303. Chase Brown, 304. Breece Hall, 305. Kyron Williams, 306. Garrett Wilson, 307. Jonathan Taylor, 308. Terry McLaurin, 309. Lamar, 310. Rashi, 311. Then we got Alvin Kamara, 312. Kenny Walker, 401. Mike Evans, 4-2. Omarion Hampton, believe, is that the first rookie off the board? Or no, Genty, obviously. Second rookie off the board. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then there's Kittle, and Jalen Hurts comes in as your third quarterback off the board. So, that's like I said, been best balling it up. Not terribly different from kind of what I'm seeing in those streets. Maybe Achane might be a little closer to the middle of the second. On a lot of those, and sometimes McCaffrey's in the first. Sometimes Derrick Henry and McCaffrey are swapped. I would say, as far as the way I'd play the quarterback, and again, my biggest reference right now is the best ball drafts I've done is Hurts usually is a little bit more of the odd man out, not the odd man out, but he's usually after the top three, that being Josh Allen, Lamar, JD. And then Hurts is usually kind of that fifth rounder. For me, the way I'd be kind of looking at quarterback right now is, where am I going to find the dead zone where I find the value gap between the skill positions that I can draft and the quarterback? At some point, I'm going to find a dead spot where I'm like, I don't love these guys. There's a gap here. Let me take the quarterback, right? Yeah. I don't know that those spots are necessarily around Josh Allen at that point. Maybe Jaden Daniels a hair. I actually don't mind the 408 Jaden Daniels there.
Or the 4-7 Hurts, right? Same thing, right?
Yeah. I guess right now, like I said, in my mind, Hurts makes it to the 5th a lot of the times in the best balls that I've been seeing. But, you know, there's certainly been a time where I've drafted Lamar, like kind of around that 3 turn, kind of right there, and I've drafted Jaden Daniels in the 4th. So I get it. What you guys thinking here? How this is playing out so far, Chev?
I mean, I love the way that that Twilight, or what is it, Twism, whatever his name is here, T7. I can't. Let me see. Let me zoom in. Old man shit.
Twiles.
Twiles. I love the way he started out here. I mean, I would personally have gone a little bit different direction with your RB1, but getting Lamar Jackson, securing what could be a positional advantage. I mean, he was 24 points a game last year, if I'm not mistaken. Getting that positional advantage and securing that every week is the way. I think it's the way to go if you're going to go early round quarterback. Like, let's not, Lamar was excellent, and as long as he's healthy, he's always going to be excellent. So if you're going to go with my thing is with Josh Allen, with these 4 quarterbacks that have gone off the board so far, they all offer massive rushing upside. Like, with Jalen Hurts, it's the tush push. With Josh Allen, it's double-digit rushing touchdowns every single year, plus the fact that he's going to run between 500 and 700 yards. And then with Lamar, it's close to 1,000 and 4 or 5 touchdowns. So those things change the math on the way that you're going to look at the position. You're just only looking to stream someone other than Lamar in his bye weeks. You're not playing matchups anymore, and you're not really, you're giving yourself a chance to have the guy who finishes as the number 1 overall scorer in a 4-point passing touchdown league, because that's what Lamar represents at this point. So him and Josh Allen, I mean, obviously Josh Allen going at the end of the second is wicked work. Like, I can't price myself into that, but we could talk ourselves into Lamar at the back of the third, right? Like, that's much more palatable. Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, much more palatable price than taking Josh Allen in the second. So I like that. Otherwise, I'm punting, and my late round punt target we'll get to here shortly.
Yeah, I think I'm mostly with you for probably changing my trajectory of quarterback a little bit to, probably downshifting to like a Bo Nix in the 8th round. If that's a possibility, or something like that. And then if you want to ride even later, we'll see where Kyler Murray or somebody like that. Also, what matters to me is, it's not specified here, and we don't really ever specify in the mocks and in Dynasty, but redraft best ball, is it 4 or 6 points of passing touchdown? That kind of changes things for me, right? If it's 4, then that leg guy's even more valuable. Of course, they're even more valuable in Dynasties too, but like redraft, it's super flex. The quarterbacks have value because there's 2 quarterbacks. And obviously, it's going to change it a little bit, but if this is 4 versus 6, much more inclined to get one of the guys who score with the legs.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there because that does, if we don't say it, somebody's going to be like, well, what do you do if? Well, I wanted to make sure that we said it tonight. Like, hey, if it's a 4-point, these guys that run a bunch and score points with their legs are a lot more valuable than if it's just standard 6-point per passing touchdown.
Right. So we left off at Hurts. We had Jaden Daniels at 406. We got Devontae Adams at 407. Chuba Hubbard, Cook, DK Metcalf at 410. Jameson Williams at 411. Joe Mixon at 412. Then 5 starts with Devonta Smith and James Conner. Tedero McMillan at 5'3. Zay Flowers at 5'4. RJ Harvey coming in at 505. Pickens at 506. Laporta 507. That might have been an auto from my man. I'm not sure. He got right on there after that, so he maybe had the Q set. Sutton 508. Burrow 509. DJ Moore 510. Mahomes 511, and Judkins coming in at 512. And then you have Olave setting up the 6. Kittle, Henderson, Travion, that is
Kelsey.
Or sorry, yeah, Kelsey setting up the 6. Then you have Travion Henderson, Swift at the 6'4, David Montgomery, Caleb Johnson at the 606, Travis Hunter at the 607, Calvin Ridley 608, and then Jalen Waddle coming in at the 609. Kind of how I've been seeing the tight end position play out in the best ball, which again, kind of similar to what we're going to see here. Is Laporta's kind of like the free square if you want one a little later, right? So that's a little earlier than I normally see him go. Same with Kelsey. Every room's going to be a little bit different. But yeah, man, I mean, a lot of this other stuff is very, very similar to kind of how it plays out. Now, Mahomes is a little earlier than he would have been. That's probably closer to 7th, 8th round. But Burrow's kind of the wild card there. What are we seeing here, Big Co, that you're interested in or
Well, I think some of that onesie stuff that you're like the best ball part, like the Laporta and the Mahomes falls down because in your best ball, you got, it takes your best score of the week no matter what. You don't have to put one in the lineup.
Right.
So you can have, 2 or 3. That's what, Laporta slides down a little bit, or Mahomes slides down a little bit in the best ball because you're not. These guys come up here because you have to put somebody in your lineup and you don't have any choices. The computer's not going to pick your best lineup. So
right.
I think that's why these guys are jumping up a little bit here, not being best ball.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so Chev, now that we've seen a couple rounds go by, I can't agree to. I'm not paying up for Josh Allen. Like Jaden Daniels hurts. I probably, you can't control it. There's no moving around. There's no trading. I'll probably be looking for like Jalen Hurts if he slides back a little bit more. Casey says, 5th round, Jalen Hurts, best ball, 4th round redraft, no best ball. You got to pick a player and put him in your lineup. Jalen Hurts, middle of the 4th round.
Sure.
Like if I miss him, like I'm probably not taking, a quarterback for a little bit. I like Ed throws it into comments like Drake May, Justin Fields. Like I don't mind having, Bo Nix was like QB7 last year, right? It's like then you can start playing the matchups a little bit, get drafting 2 quarterbacks in the middle rounds or whatever. Like Drake May, all the upside in the world. Does he make you feel as good week 1 as Jalen Hurts? He shouldn't, So I've it's the teams that don't have a quarterback yet look better. Right. That's Casey. That's why we don't take quarterbacks, because the teams without quarterbacks look better right now, but then you get into putting your lineup together week 1 and it's now or never. Like there is no, hey, I'll get a quarterback later. I'll trade for this guy later. And I would assume we'll work on this as we go farther, Chev, and you can help us out with this and we'll play with it as we go on. But I'm going to play my redraft. This is me talking here, the guy that loves to make trades. My last couple years in redraft, like I'm gonna draft my team assuming it's hard to make a trade, right, Casey?
Yes.
Like
I'm
gonna draft my team like I don't really think I'm really gonna pull off a trade. That without being able to throw draft picks around and stuff, like making a trade. I remember that my last redraft trade, I traded T.Y. Hilton away on a team where I needed a running back, and I forget which running back I traded for, and he got hurt, and T.Y. Hilton ended up being awesome the rest of the year. My team sunk, and I didn't get in playoffs. Like I did what I had to do because I needed a running back so bad. You got to give away, got to give something awesome. There is no, I'll give you my 1st round pick next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the toughest part of redraft is you have to plan on. So timing the market is something that you can practice. It translates that would translate from dynasty to redraft is, hey, you got a player, this guy that had a big game. You could probably take a Juwan Jennings after that 40-point game and maybe upgrade him into something else, but you have to do it. You have to strike while the iron's hot. And people are getting sharper, in some instances and not really wanting to overreact to a guy scoring 40 points and giving up a guy who got off to a slow start. Like maybe you go after a Marvin Harrison Jr. after a couple quiet games, but it's way harder. You have to go into a draft assuming that you're not going to be able to trade these players.
I agree.
So
I agree.
You want to take, hey, what is my opinion on who's the best player available right here?
Yeah, exactly. There is no best asset available, Chev. That's what's that's the way we draft our dynasty startup when I'm, running things. There is no best asset available. It's the best situation, the best volume available, right? Like that's the way I'm looking at this is like who's about to get the most targets week 1. I mean, I can say, like, Casey said, the second rookie off the board of Hampton, like at that pick, maybe you could have seen somebody that was going to get, maybe Chuba Hubbard's not splitting things, week 1 like Omarion Hampton is, but maybe down the back half of the season, potentially Hampton's pulled away with the job. You could kind of tweak a couple things like that and kind of project and guess a little bit, but there's definitely, hedging on the side of who's going to get the most volume. And even if I think this guy right here might be not quite as good of a player as this guy over here, his wide receiver room isn't nearly as crowded. Like a league winner may come from the Chicago Bears offense, right? But who knows which one it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, to answer your point, to reply to the point that you just made, what I meant by asset is what you said. It's like, hey, I'm looking for the best pick in every round. I'm trying to make the best pick, like what that person is. And obviously you get to a point here where you can't rely on volume. You're just kind of relying on like, hey, this guy could take a step forward. There's a path here. We're getting into those. We're getting into the nitty gritty of it now where you can no longer project reliable volume, but there's a path that you can create for a guy like Ricky Pearsall, for a guy like Jaden Reed, for Mandrews or Josh Downs, who's right now everybody's darling because his reception perception was mostly green. You can create a pathway in your head to where these guys, Andrews was a tight end 5, but it's super touchdown dependent. So you don't feel sexy about that at all. It's just, 69 targets. Nice. But you can't rely. That's not volume. It's just crazy touchdown efficiency.
69 targets.
But
I think that's one of the things, like, as we, move forward through the summer here, we don't assume Mark Andrews is going to get another car wreck, but like that was a big point of context that listening to podcasts throughout this winter and throughout this spring, like I haven't heard anybody but myself and Casey remind people that Mark Andrews started the season off of a car wreck. You do hear people remind you about Pearsall's, gunshot wound, but like Mark Andrews' second half of the season, there was touchdowns, but there was also him being a part of the, part of the offense.
Correct. Yeah. We can get back into the Mark Andrews thing. Casey, you want to run off the last couple rounds real quick?
Yeah, I don't know why I got to be crackhead Jesus though. Well, I don't know.
That is kind of nice. That's a little strange.
That was a shot. Shot. I looked at you. I was like, "Does he look cracked out right now?"
Yeah,
I just looked at you,
dog. Yeah,
you look fine
right now.
You might be the most handsome guy on the podcast right now.
I'm definitely more handsome than that fella. I can tell you that. Out here looking like a pastel drawing on his icon. Like he must be ugly. He can't even put a real picture of himself up there. What is that?
That's tough, man. That's tough. It's tough out here in these streets.
Yeah. Tough. Gotta look.
Timber must not be working tonight. He's bored.
Anyway, I'm not actually sure where we left off here. Maybe
that's because you just called somebody pastel.
Well, I'm just his icon.
We went through, I believe we went through Mahomes, like that Judkins range.
Olave, you got Ridley. You stopped off at Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, Waddle. Yeah. All right. So at 609, we had Waddle. We got TJ Hawkinson 6'10, Aaron Jones 6'11. We got Xavier Worthy at 6'12, and then we had Isaiah Pacheco 701. We got Judy 702. Godwin 703, Addison 704, Roma Dunze 705, Tony Pollard 706, Khalil Shakir 707, Jacoby Meyer 708, Stephon Diggs 709. We got Brian Robinson, Travis Etienne, and Debo wrapping up the 7th round. Then we had Baker coming in at 801. We got Tracy at 802. We got Cooper Kupp, Matthew Golden, Juwan Jennings at 805, Brandon Ayuk 806. Then we got Jalen Warren, 807, Downs, 808, Mark Andrews, 809, and then Najee, Jaden Reed, and Ramondre finishing up the 8th round. Ricky Pearsall kicking off the 9th with Evan Ingram. We got Spears, Scatabo, Janu, 905, Sharbs, 906, Bo Nix, 97, Joku Garendo. Is that early? Am I tripping right there? 909, and then we got Warren 910, Javante 911, Kincaid 912, and then Ebuka starting off the 10th round.
So this is a beautiful scenario because this dude did what every guy who drafted Christian McCaffrey should do. They took Christian McCaffrey in the second. Normally, Isaac Guerindo's in that 11, 12 range.
Get him, Chev.
You gotta secure that. In this instance, in my opinion, y'all can tell me if I'm tripping. Tell me if I'm tripping now.
Nope.
Like,
I like it.
Do we not need to reach a round or two early just to make sure that if something happens, if CMC gets double tendonitis of the butthole or whatever it was again, like, don't we want to have his bona fide backup handcuff? We want that. And then if it, for some reason, isn't Isaac Guerindo, who's 4'3" and 220 pounds, and it's Jordan James, then we can go get him off the waiver wire. But you did what you could do with the information that we have available, which is Isaac Guerindo is the handcuff that we want for Christian McCaffrey. I'll cede the floor to you guys, but I'm firmly in the stance of if you're drafting Christian McCaffrey, you have to draft Isaac Guerindo.
I want to know Casey's spot. Casey's a Niners guy. I got my take on it that I'd like to give, but I want to hear Casey Niners guy first.
Again, not knowing exactly how these rounds are going to play out and what I can get in the 9th and 10th and 11th here, and where Guerindo typically goes, I would have assumed that's more of an 11th round pick. That seems awfully early. I guess I don't want to be handcuffed by the handcuff is kind of, my thoughts there. If I can get him, then I would reach a little bit. And again, I don't know where the ADP kind of settles in there. And if somebody in the room is playing a little bit dirty, I think you're playing a 1-year league. You took the shot on CMC. I'd probably just, if there's something better that I like to help my season out for, as far as my starting lineup week to week, I'd probably take that shot. I mean, I'll have to see as a couple more rounds kind of play out what else I might rather have there. But at the moment, kind of looking at what it is, I guess I don't hate it too much. I mean, there's Jordan Mason, Tank Bigsby,
Sure.
Spears, Scatabo. So I mean,
see what I mean? Like that's looking at that round, and it's like, man, would I rather have Javonte Williams, who could lead the Cowboys backfield, or would I just rather have the handcuff to CMC? Would I rather have Rashad White, or would I rather have CMC? Would I rather have Jaden Blue?
Well, not necessarily CMC, but yeah, Guerindo showed out way better than any of us that could have expected. Maybe he probably impressed himself last year, right? The biggest thing about it is, like, when he made that pick, he had 6 picks before he came back on the clock. So, like, if it was reversed where there was 20 picks before he got the next pick, maybe that's like, all right, I'm going to take Guerindo because there's a decent chance, there's more than a 50-50 chance he's gone before my next pick. He probably could have taken another player at 9-9 and gotten Guerindo at 10-4 because he's so close to one end of the draft. If Guerindo's an 11th round pick and you get him at 10-4, I think you're being aggressive right there, and I think that's a really smart move. I don't hate the 9-9 either, but the 10-4 would probably be a better spot there, like Casey said. The biggest thing for me is getting Christian McCaffrey at the 2-4 makes it even more palatable because you could definitely make that case to take him at the 1-9, right? So the fact that he's your second, you got Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. You already went with the olds right there, but they could definitely, hit in a big monstrous way. And if Christian McCaffrey is doing CMC things, who cares if you blew your 9th round pick? But what Chev's saying is if CMC is not, week 4 he goes down, week 7 he goes down, or whatever, like Guerindo is that player that you can just have on your bench all year long and wait. He has no flex value while CMC's healthy, like 99% chance, right? I would say that Jordan Mason, like Casey's, the first player he called out was Mason. Like, that's a player who, I could definitely say, hey, I might want to have him over Guerindo because he could hit. And if CMC's still healthy, right? Because like that's the part of the handcuff game that'll get you. If your handcuff is not needed, then you've spent that pick, but your top guy's crushing, fantastic. But if you're just giving that pick away that could have been somebody else. But getting CMC at 2-4, I think I can spend a 10th round pick on Guerindo and be very excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, a little aggressive, but the thing, my whole thing is, I feel like you're assigning yourself, your point about taking him in the 10th, and then, we could have had Jordan Mason and then him in the 10th potentially, or, Tyler Warren and then him in the 10th. If that's the direction that you wanted to go, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's a very valid point. My thing is like if I'm in on CMC, I have to get Isaac Guerrero because I'm just gonna feel like an asshole if I don't. Like it
I'm interested to see where this team goes with wide receivers because they got making that play on CMC and Guerrero, and he had an early tight end and an early quarterback. So his wide receivers are getting thin quick. And then he comes around with a potential league winning rookie tight end, which I don't have a problem with that either. But this is, the 1-9 team who is second best wide receiver right now is Diggs, and then followed by a rookie in Matthew Golden.
Right. That's the rub. That's where, we're going to be hurting and you're going to have to be really active on the waiver wire because unless Matthew Golden comes out and he has, Malik Neighbors or, Odell Beckham when he finally came off IR debut, it's going to be quiet out there for you. Like you're going to be struggling looking at 6.6 points per week from your wide receiver, from a wide receiver 2 slot, or it just being really up and down like Marvin Mims, in this range, sure. But I saw a thing where he only ran 1.5 targets per game, got 1.5 targets per game past the line of scrimmage. So extreme boom potential, but just not very much in the way of volume, which, I mean, to win in this game is king.
Yeah. Well, before we move off of CMC, Casey, let me throw a little strategy out here in our second mock draft of the season for redraft. If you're the guy that takes CMC and you're taking mine and Chev's stance to get Guerrero, then maybe don't get a quarterback early, right? Because now you know that you've put an early running back on your team and you're going to put a early-ish mid-round 9th or 10th or 10th round of Guerrero on your team. Maybe you're not a Burrow guy. Maybe there's Dak Prescott just came off the board in the 12th round, right?
Exactly.
And is Drake May even off the board yet?
No.
No.
So like that, if you're just kind of putting those things together, if you get CMC and you're just going to flip the court, roll the dice, going not having Guerrero, throw all this out the window. But if that's kind of a little piece of strategy I'm picking up right here is this team's, because it's not best ball, he's going to have a situation on his hands trying to figure out which wide receiver to start in his WR2 spot.
Week 1.
Yes.
Very soon, and without any injuries yet.
Yeah, because I mean
that's ideal.
Assume it seems like Diggs should be good to go week 1 from what we're seeing from him. But anything can happen. Like he could be out there. He could have a hamstring in August, right?
They normally do.
And obviously all these guys could, but the fact that Diggs is coming off an injury is the reason why I'm saying that and putting that bad juju on it. Hopefully he doesn't. He did double kind of handcuff it with, I guess, Kyle Williams there a little bit. I just, it's different. There's different theories of, some people don't take any of their handcuffs. They just take whoever they think the best handcuff is. Just so happens, I think Guerrero is probably one of the better handcuffs.
Yeah.
Jordan Mason's a nice one because whilst a handcuff, also probably going to have solo work possibly. But I like the point about obviously you're getting Burrow here. If it's 6 point of passing touchdown, then that's going to probably be awesome. If it's 4, it's probably not quite as fun. But like you said, if you would just replace Burrow with any of Calvin Ridley, or Chris Olave, whoever in there, and like you just got one more shot at a receiver, and then you had Bo Nix and Guerrero spot and Guerrero and Kyle Williams spot.
Yep.
I might like the team a little more. I think I'm less concerned with a whole lot of floor and safety and redraft, and I'm just swinging for the fences a lot. Like I might middle some of that. But it's 1 year, man. Like you're lucky in all fantasy football redrafts, especially if the room's even moderately sharp, it's going to be super lucky on injuries and, all that kind of stuff of who's standing there last. Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I always look at it like redraft is navigating the season, putting up a bunch of points. A lot of that is your skill being active on the waiver wire, being, trying to, always trying to find that edge in your lineup. And then it flips. And then the playoffs, it's 70% luck and 30% skill. I mean, making the playoffs is a skilled event, in my opinion. Like, you're not just going to dummy your way. Draft, don't make any moves, make the playoffs. That very rarely happens. Like, you got that one dumb guy in your league that can do that, but that's the exception, not the norm.
You certainly need to be playing the waiver wire hot and heavy, but like, I mean, you could just come out the first 3 weeks and, either not get the lineup right, or just like after those 3 weeks, like you're scoring some of the best points in the league, but then one of those early 3 losses, you're 0-3 coming into week 4, and just one of those early losses just keeps you out of the playoffs. And you had the best team from 3 on, right? Or 4 on rather, right? It's just kind of how it goes sometimes, it just, so it's is what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's such an interesting, we spent a lot of time on this CMC thing, but it's such an interesting roster construction thing, because I mean, we're all totally in agreement that another wide receiver where that Burrow pick was made would definitely kind of set things a little bit better in our book. But just looking at some of the quarterbacks that have gone off the board here, we're talking, we got 12th round or 11th round Justin Fields, 10th round Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, like all those guys. In reprogramming my brain from Dynasty to Redraft a bit, like all those guys are gone in the first 36 picks. So them being available down here is just kind of it's like, whoa, Kyler Murray in the 10th, Justin Fields in the 12th, Brock Purdy in the 11th, like Dak Prescott in the 12th. I mean, he was QB3 in 2023, and now he has, I mean, it's the same offensive play caller, upgraded offensive line. Like, he's primed to explode. He's got Pickens now. So there's so much value in the later rounds. I mean, Justin Herbert is down here. There's so much value down here that unless I'm taking one of those 4 studs that we talked about, I am 100% okay waiting on quarterback.
Yeah, I think after seeing the board, I'm probably down to 2. I probably want Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna let Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. If Daniels and Hurts can slide down, if one of them slides to me in a good spot, that's probably where I can be. I'm not going to be the first guy to take one and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I mean,
I feel like the spot that they're at right there is pretty decent, right? I mean, look on the back half. I mean, obviously, I would like to have Devontae Adams, right? And I'd like to have Chuba and Cook and DK Metcalf and all those other guys. But at the end of the day, Hurts and Jaden Daniels probably could make a bigger difference in my lineup than a lot of those guys we just named. And, maybe DK has a crazy obviously, I love taking DK. But, that seems like a decent spot, right? For those 2 guys. Like you were saying, there's still some other guys where I don't want to sacrifice who I'm taking for Allen and Lamar. So I think I'm right there with you. I think that's I think where Hurts and Daniels went, a good spot. Maybe if they slid down 2 more spots and we're in the Chuba and Cook spot, maybe even better. But no,
I think what I think it's a mix of what we're like Chev said, making the playoffs. You can make making the playoffs with Justin Fields, Brock Purdy, if you're going to need just what Casey said at the beginning, like you're going to need luck with injuries to get there and you're going to need luck with your draft. Like Tyreek Hill in the 3rd round, like my eyes are wide open. I'm like, is that like, that's either a fantastic pick or a terrible pick in my dynasty brain. And I'm looking at Tyreek Hill. It's like, that's probably a really, really good pick. But what's going on, so like, that's probably a fantastic pick, but like I think, when you get to the playoffs, that top scoring quarterback is going to help you in that week, but if you got lucky and you got some hammers, if that Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Chuba Hubbard, RJ Harvey team pick 5, CeeDee Lamb, like if those 4 running backs, if 3 of those guys stay healthy for most of the season, that's going to be a very, very hard team to beat. And then look at him. He's got Brock Purdy, nothing to brag about. But like if you got hammers in there and Calvin Ridley's getting all of the targets, Roman Dunze breaks out. Josh Downs is not going to be bad.
He's never. Hey, we talk about this, bro. You show me you good at football, I'm gonna fucking believe you. And Josh Downs has been good at football in some really putrid environments.
Yeah. Well, me and Casey were on Josh Downs early. Casey's always going to be ahead of me on the rookies, but like you, Chev, I'm really quick. Like if I see you good against the NFL defenses, I'm gonna start buying you in Dynasty, right? And like you said, now Matt Harmon comes out and tells everybody Josh Downs is good, and his stock is going through the roof. Fantastic for my Dynasty teams because he's on. Me and Casey got him everywhere. You know, about time everybody else catches up to the party. It's just a matter of whether he's going to get, you know, what kind of targets he's going to get. But when they throw him the ball, he's nasty. Yeah, so that's a good looking team right there.
Dan Haas says too much dynasty brain going on here. May's situation really isn't all that good. He is improving, like Love and Herbert, and those are steals. May's a big gamble in redraft. Again, man, like there is certainly a gamble there, but the part that you like with May is that, and we didn't even see it on a high level last year, was that he does have great legs. The legs are there, like the touchdown upside of rushing with May is there in the 14th, and then he came back
zero gamble.
Right.
Yeah. Zero gamble in the 14th round, Casey. If you put him up there with in 9th round Bo Nix, Bo Nix was QB7. So yeah, if you take Drake May with him right there on the turn, that's a gamble-ish. But like 14th round, there's no gamble in Drake May in 14th round.
Well, I love maybe I take Drake May. If I have Jalen Hurts, maybe, I'm waiting that long to take another quarterback, and my last round pick's probably not going to be a quarterback.
Definitely not taking it. I didn't even see that he had Hurts there. I'm definitely not taking a third, definitely not taking a third. I don't know why anybody's taking 3 quarterbacks right here. It's crazy.
So, but to Big Co's point, we're talking about the rushing upside. He was 7.7 yards a carry, 420 yards in 13 games, if I'm not mistaken. Bo Nix, like 90 carries, I want to say roughly thereabouts, 490 yards, 489, whatever, 4 touchdowns. The touchdowns aren't sticky. We don't give a shit about the touchdowns, like, unless we're going to get a reliable number year over year. Like Dak Prescott had that weird thing where he had 6 straight years of 3 rushing touchdowns or 2 straight, whatever it was, but it's not sticky is what we're trying to say. But you want the guys that offer that rushing upside, especially if you're in a 4-point touchdown league as opposed to a 6-point. Drake May makes sense as a pick right here. I mean, that's probably my favorite pick out of all those late round quarterbacks, just because he has legs, he's going to run the ball, and he's free. Mm-hmm. Like that offense could very well take a step forward. And we're talking about all the New England assets as premium assets going into 2026.
Yeah. I don't know if I would go premium, but good.
Yeah. Okay, so
much improved.
Let's say that they go from being like just dog shit to 15. Yeah. Now you've got a 23-year-old quarterback who, he has the young weapons. He's got Pop Douglas. He's got, Travion Henderson's gonna go through the fucking roof. I guarantee. Like that. That's the biggest. That's who I'm kind of talking about as a premium asset. But Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, Pop Douglas, whatever Hunter Henry decides to do. I mean, he's in the old man tight end prime. Like he's like 29 or 30 now, so he's gonna be real sexy. Like those guys are going to cost way more than they do now. Like Drake May is free in redraft. Like those guys could all take a massive step forward just by being not bottom tier. It's the same kind of theory I have with the Panthers. Like all their assets are free. It's super free to build best ball stacks with the Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Patriots were so bad very quickly last year. The Mayo thing, it was obvious that wasn't working. And like they were literally asking the coaches in the press conferences, why is Drake May not getting called runs? And or maybe I got it backwards. And they're like, we're not calling runs on Drake May. There's no reason to get him hurt this year. Right. We're not going anywhere. We're not winning anything. So like the design runs for Drake May was non-existent last year. But his scramble rate, boys, was like top 4. Right. When the play wasn't there, he scrambled, not a design run, but hey, I backed up, checked out my progressions, didn't like what I saw, and I took off. Like you said, he was right there nipping on Bo Nix's heels. Bo Nix started week 1, and they weren't, and there was no gloves on, Bo Nix from week 1, right? Drake May, they handcuffed him, basically tied his shoes together. It was like, we don't want you running around too much. We don't need you. You're our future, and we suck, right? So I completely agree. I think the Patriots could go be in the middle of the pack, and no gamble on Drake May as a 14th rounder. the guy who took Drake, Joe Burrow, jumped in the chat and said, sorry about taking Joe Burrow and take it. That was a really good discussion about strategy and exactly why we're doing this process.
Right.
So no need to
of it.
apologize. Like
Two parts of it, right?
zero.
Because
Yeah.
because you had handcuff and when to take a quarterback kind of conversation in there. So it was two. So I think it was great. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, the conversation that came out of it is exactly why we're on here doing this. And like nobody could have projected that conversation coming from those draft picks. It just kind of organically worked its way out with the three of us bouncing ideas back and forth. So no need to apologize for taking Joe Burrow there. And maybe our discussion helps somebody in a redraft league coming up. And maybe the discussion hurts and Joe Burrow's a monster and CMC's a monster and should have just had them both on your team anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful part of this is like it's fucking June, man. We're trying to figure this out in June. So we're gonna do more of these and we're gonna get more dialed in and we'll have some ADP to reference and we're trying to figure it out. To go back to Drake May, there's one interesting thing that I want to hit on with Drake May. In his first 4 starts, he had the 6th most rushing yards of any quarterback since the year 2000. First 4 starts.
Yeah.
You can rely on the legs. Like it's as much as I've been not a Drake May proponent just because of the fact that like it was a horrendous situation. He showed me everything that you could show me from a situation that was absolutely awful. So I mean, in the 14th round, yes, take a young ascending quarterback that could return could give you quarterback 1 returns.
Yeah. All right, let's take a peek at some of these teams while we round out our hour here. Girl Dad started off, he had the Josh Allen early, right? So, he's got some ground to make up as he's coming through, and he took a tight end early, right? So he's got 3 guys right off the rip that you kind of have to now, you're behind, but you should have a week-to-week few point, positional advantage, right? So he's got Jamar Chase, Josh Allen, McBride, Mixon, Devonta Smith, Xavier Worthy, Pacheco, Ramondre, Pearsall, Dobbins in the 10th, Jaden Higgins and Kirk in the 12th and 11th, and then Algier, Romeo, Brashard Smith, and Justice Hill in the 15th and 16th. I think all things, said and done, I think it's a, regardless of if we're coming in here, there's probably some different picks I would swap out, but like I thought the build out was pretty decent at the end of it, right? You're not going to go through there and
30-second pick, right?
Right. And you're not going to go through there. Like you said, you always feel like, I know, like when I'm doing the best ball, when the McBride's available in the end of the second, top of the 3rd round turn, and you take him, you feel like you're a receiver behind every pick, but you're not really, right? Because you have a huge advantage and you just got a wide receiver in your tight end position. And right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think he did a pretty good job here. He took some stabs on some spots. Now, Ramondre, I think, is going to have more value than a lot of people are thinking until potentially fumbles it away. He's got his Pearsall. I think rounds 1 through 6, I think it's pretty easy to navigate those for the most part. I think where it really starts getting heavy is 7 through, 14 or whatever, right? To try to figure out how to build this thing out. I like the Pearsall value. I like the shot on Pacheco. Again, I don't know how above or below ADP some of this is to figure it out. But I do like this 11-12 shot with the rookie and Christian Kirk right there. I kind of I think because the Diggs, Kyle Williams, I'm pretty sure Kyle Williams is going to be a starter one way or another on that team, but I'm almost certain that Christian Kirk and Jaden Higgins are going to be 2 starters for them. And if anything happens to either one, I think the other one gets quite a bump. And really Christian Kirk could really start off hot with Jaden Higgins ending the season pretty strong. So I like that. I like the Romeo Dubs pick at 14. We talked about Garendo being one of the best handcuffs. Algier's got to be right up there with one of the best handcuffs if God forbid something goes wrong with your boy Bijan there. So I don't mind those. I don't mind that how that team got built out.
I like the way that that's built out because it's literally what Big Co alluded to right from the jump on the stream. It's like, hey, I want my onesie positions. I don't want to have to think about that. We talked through that quite a bit more as the draft went on, but when you're looking at that, that's going to feel real sexy when you got wide receiver 1, tight end, arguably tight end 1, and QB 1, arguably. Like you're looking at that as a positional. You're looking at each one of your positions. Hey, I start 2 wide receivers. I've got one of the 2 best wide receivers in the league in my lineup every week. I've got one of the 2 best tight ends. I've got one of the 2 best quarterbacks. I can try to figure the rest of this out. Now, where you go from there, you've got to make sure that you're securing volume. Joe Mixon seems pretty safe. Devonta Smith, he was still 15 points a game. We can say what we want about the target share. I mean, he's still 7 targets a game, 15 points a game. That's fine. I mean, it's my wide receiver 2, and we only start 2 wide receivers. So I'm okay with a little bit of volatility there. And then you just kind of followed that path, of volatility all the way through. I mean, if the Chiefs guys hit, they're going to smash that ADP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Joe Mixon, Devonta Smith pick, the safety in Devonta Smith, not necessarily the safety in his volume, but I did, I heard of like he still got like a 30% target share because they only throw it to those 2 wide receivers, So like Mixon and Devonta Smith, after you've planted your flag and said, hey, I got QB1, tight end 1, and McBride, Bowers, whatever, like Josh Allen, McBride, and then you go Mixon, Devonta Smith, those 2 picks right there really, like for me, like solidify that first 3 picks, because I do want a quarterback, and I really want a good tight end. Like after seeing, I knew Chev and I did a 1 quarterback, even Dynasty startup, but just being 1 quarterback, the quarterbacks did the exact same thing in the Dynasty. Like there was, we were sitting here talking about how, Trevor Lawrence is here in the 16th round, right? I mean, he's just got Liam Cohen and he's got 2 stud receivers, so we think the second was going to be a stud, and so in case he reminds us every year how good Trevor Lawrence is at giving you a sneaky 40 yards rushing a game, right? So like, I don't think I could probably take Josh Allen there after seeing the board, but I think the way he built it from there was solid. And that Pacheco 7-1, like we could be 3 weeks into the season and Pacheco could be scoring 15 points a game and just be helping you crush cats with those top studs that you already have,
Yeah.
And
when you take the quarterback when you take that quarterback tight end, you're going to be like just like
chasing
a little bit down. So the 102s I thought was pretty fun. I like kind of the way the boxes are built out here, as far as he goes Bijan, Higgins, Marv, J-Mo, the first 4. Then he takes Connor and Aaron Jones. Then he gets Judy and Reed. Then he goes back-to-back tight ends, Ingram and Kraft. Then he takes Trey Benson to back up Connor. So we've been talking about handcuffs. Like that's a pretty good value to potentially maybe lock up a backfield. Then he gets Dak and JJ. I don't know how you guys feel about back-to-back and quarterbacks right there. But then Jalen Wright, I think, is a really fun grab. I think Jalen McMillan is one of the best values in this entire draft right here, to just stash away. And then he took Krosky Merritt on the last pick, kind of like a waiver wire ad right there. We're not really sure where we're going to be at. Again, it's June, like you said. But I like the idea of a lot of what he did. Not sure I would have went back-to-back tight end right there. I might have done something. I might have just waited until I was down here and taken Ingram and Strange or something, but I don't mind it. I feel like you're going to be battling demons with who you're starting out of those 2 guys each week,
you created a problem for yourself.
Could be a trade, though, I guess.
Decision. Yeah, you created another decision for yourself. I'll make the decision for you here. Just wait around and take Tucker Kraft if you feel that.
Give me Evan Ingram.
Give me. We'll go pie to the face right now. Who scores more fantasy?
Let's do it. I'll lock it in.
Lock it in. Y'all heard it. Chat. Y'all heard it. We are pie to the face. Tucker Kraft, Evan Ingram, 2025.
Just tied it. Just PPR, no premiums.
Just PPR, no premiums.
I like what Casey said. I like the boxes. I like the Bijan. I like the 3 wide receivers after that. I like the two old running backs that are going to get a ton of volume after that. And I like the Evan Ingram Kraft back to back. I like those boxes set up. I don't mind the Prescott JJ either, but like maybe, there's a lot of talk going around and by the talking heads right now about JJ McCarthy's quarterback touchdown passes set for the year over under. And it's like, he's like the 5th quarterback in line.
It's 27.5.
Yeah. Because he plays for the Vikings and he gets to throw to Justin Jefferson and the crowd of awesome pass catchers that comes with that and the system, right? Like JJ McCarthy could hit, but again, it's 1 quarterback So like, I don't mind, you know, you took JJ McCarthy, Drake May still on the board, et cetera, et cetera. Justin Herbert was still on the board when you made that pick. So maybe you could sneak one more player in there between, maybe, you know, he was very concentrated on, you know, a couple positions at a time. Like, hey, I'm going to attack here, attack here, attack here. So he was obviously attacking the quarterback position. I don't have a problem with it. You can see now that the board is laid out, when you take JJ McCarthy there, maybe that's a great pick, but there's also like 7 other quarterbacks. So you could sneak another, you know, player in there. You could have had, you know, Pat Bryant or as whatever, Braylon Allen. Like right now, like June, you just mentioned it, Casey. Good idea.
I don't want Cedric Tillman.
You know, the Krosky Merritt pick in the 16th round. One of those other running backs could get hurt in front of him in the next 2 months, and all of a sudden he's your biggest waiver wire ad and for week 1, but he's already on your team. That kind of thought process, right? So like you could have, you know, that's just. I think you're taking JJ there because he's hanging. It's not a huge expense, and if it hits, it slaps, and you can either trade or do something right there, right? It is hard to trade and redraft. I've never had a whole lot of success with it, unless it's I feel like it's just always like, damn, that somebody got fucking worked.
Yeah, you got embarrassed. Like that's you're either getting your pants taken off or you're taking somebody else's pants off. Like that's the way that it feels to trade in redraft most of the time. I think instead of that JJ pick, I probably go Justin Herbert. Yeah, I'd probably just don't take another quarterback until the last round. I mean, if we're gonna do it, sure. If we're gonna do it, I'm cool taking Drake May. I'm cool taking Justin. I know everybody's saying that just JJ McCarthy ran 4.4 at his pro day, and he's gonna come out and he's gonna run, and the Kevin O'Connell system. We saw Josh Dobbs be good. What if? Well, just hear me out. What if they don't come out and give him the entirety of the playbook, like they handed to a 6-year vet in Sam Darnold last year, and it's just kind of pared down? You know, he's gonna be on your waiver wire by week 4 if he's not coming out and giving you quarterback 1 weeks. You're gonna drop him and pick up somebody else. That's my thing here. Is if you're gonna take a quarterback, like, you know. In his defense, if he didn't take a quarterback there by the time it got back on that, because again, he's over here sitting on one side of the draft board. So there was 20 picks before he got to pick again. And in that run, Herbert, Love, Penix, Drake May, CJ Stroud, they all went. So in his defense, he did make a choice, but there was 22 picks to go off the board between that pick. And when it got back, you're looking between a rookie and Cam Ward and Stafford and Tua and Trevor Lawrence, etc. I mean, you could go in at 15 instead of McMillan potentially. You're going one of those quarterbacks to win the 16th. Cover your ears, Big Co. You can go Tua. I mean, just cover your ears. I know you don't like it. Or, I mean, why are we not a little bit more bullish? If we're super excited about Dak Prescott from a fantasy output perspective and what he has, the weapons he has at his disposal, why the fuck are we not excited about Matthew Stafford? Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with taking Stafford as my last quarterback. Like once we get to that point, like I've never been a huge quarterback and redraft guy. If I can get it in the right spot, awesome. If not, like, I mean, you know, I'll play it out. And Dax does have plenty of upside. That's what I'm saying. Like you take these guys that you know can play football. The Rams wide receiver room has been super productive under Sean McVay every single year that he's been the coach. Why are we not more excited about Matthew Stafford? We don't have to get into that right now, but I'm just saying, like, that's something that we need to be mindful of when we're talking about late round guys. Like, if Matthew Stafford's weapons are healthy, he's going to outperform this round 16, the round 16 ADP, or being undrafted, being able to get him off the waiver wire. That's going to be one of my late round targets for sure at quarterback. I kind of like what Chance did here at the end. Maybe I don't know if I want Kelsey or not. I don't know what I'm doing there. If it's redraft, I guess, and you just put Mahomes and Kelsey together. But I like the team here. Like, you got Neighbors, Drake, Rice, Mike Evans. Awesome. Like, sure, let's go. Then he took Pat,
Then you took Kelsey, which again, I'm not really sure how I feel about that just yet. But then I think you played a great job of playing the running backs here with ETN, Tracy, and Javonte. Say what you want about any of them, but all of them could be the number one for the entire season, with a ton of pass catching upside. And then you have Mooney and Pittman. I feel like those are just fantastic picks in the 10th and the 11th. Then you took Pitts, which I don't know if you needed to do that. You probably could have done something else. You got Braylon Allen, a good backup. You got Penix, another quarterback, and then Coker and Michael Wilson. Maybe I do something different with Wilson there or Coker, but I don't mind the shot on either one of them. So maybe I change those boxes out a little bit of who that is right there. But I don't know, man. I kind of like the way that team is built out as far as if you're not going to play, heavy running backs at the top.
I had an aggressive vision just now looking at this team, Casey.
Mm-hmm.
I see Chance blowing 85% of his fab on whatever running back pops in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the way to play it.
We're gonna go scoop up Kyron Williams after week 1. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna scoop up Kyron Williams in week 1 of 2023. That's what Chance is gonna do. Like you can survive with it. And here's the thing: if Travis Etienne returns somewhat to form, he was at 8.7 points a game last year. He goes back up to around 12 or 13. That's gonna feel real good in round 7, right? It's gonna feel great. And then, you're just hoping to get usable weeks from Tyrone Tracy and Javonte Williams. I don't know what to expect from Javonte Williams. I really don't.
Right.
Like so we're a little thin at running back, but if those guys are serviceable, you've got enough firepower in your wide receiver room to get you through if you just have 2 startable guys every single week.
Yeah. Certainly an interesting, there's definitely a bunch of different ways to play it, right? And whatever the board wants to give you, I'm okay with going either way. On the other side, you got Jay Higgs over here who went heavy RBs, right? He's got 4 to start. And then, he's got Nico and Olave at 1 and 6. And then he goes Achane, Kamara, Walker, Judkins, gets Baker in the 8th, gets Kincaid in the 9th. Then he gets Igbuka, Burton, and Hollywood Brown, or Burden rather, Jordan Love, Goddard, Love, and Royals. So, I mean, he goes kind of the opposite way, but I don't hate that team either. Debo's the only pick I don't necessarily love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and it could be absolutely ridiculous if I saw what Debo kind of looked like last year, and it's just sour in my mouth right now. That'd be a hard one for me to pull trigger on, kind of right there. Like I'd just rather take, somebody else there. But I don't mind having. Yeah, I mean,
Ricky Pearsall.
Sure.
I mean, just basically what we're saying is none of us have any idea if Debo can still football good.
Right.
Well, it's pneumonia or not pneumonia, right? Like if did pneumonia really make him, look like that, or because you're not in football game shape if you have pneumonia. Let's just know that, right? And he had pneumonia. So did he have a chance to get going again, or and of course the screen game in Washington, he could be really solid for a little while. And in Dynasty, we're not going to overreact to that and pay up for him after week 3 and Debo's doing well. We're not going to overreact to that and pay too much for Debo when the Debo guys decides to sell him after he's done well for 3 weeks. But in a 1-year scenario, he may be really, really solid.
Sure.
But right this minute in June, making that pick, like the Debo Baker, I love those 4 running backs, and I don't mind the Chris Olave.
I love that Chris Olave stab.
I mean, that's a great, like, I could take that Debo and Baker, especially. I'm not hating on Baker, but like with all those other quarterbacks on the list still, like I could take that Debo and Baker and trade them out for Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. And now all of a sudden you stick those wide receivers with those running backs, and you can figure out, then you have options to find out your quarterback. And again, Debo could be crushing week 5. We could be like, oh yeah, Debo was a crushing pick in the 7th or late 7th round pick. But there's just so much so much question marks on that pick right this second. I would have liked to see the first 6 picks of that draft is just home run cut after home run cut to be like a league winning type build.
Yeah. Basically, a lot of people are looking at Burrow or Baker as the poor man's Burrow right now, and that you can get a few rounds later. I would probably personally skip it, and I would have probably skipped the Debo and Baker picks, switch that up a little bit, and swap those out with something else. But I like the idea of kind of what was going. Like, I'd much rather take a shot on the legs of Nix or Murray or Fields even later, or
I think we're setting ourselves
Baker's
up for
going to be really, really solid for you, and you could set it and forget it. And I think week over week, Baker's probably going to throw for 4,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns. I mean, if he doesn't, it's a massive disappointment, but that's probably what's about to happen again.
Yeah, the massive disappointment for like if it doesn't hit those numbers, but like the word around town that I do think we should all agree with looking at and paying attention to is the guy that throws the most touchdowns this year, last year, normally isn't the guy that throws the most touchdowns the next year.
Mm-hmm.
That usually that bobbles up and down. Like the guy, you could Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, they've been 10 rushing touchdowns a year, sometimes 15, right? But like Baker. The chances that Baker throws 40 touchdowns again is so unlikely.
But I think that could be, he could not throw the most and still be high 30s though, For
sure. And probably be way better than a lot of quarterbacks for sure. But like, Bo Nix is still on the board. He runs. He doesn't have to throw 35 touchdowns to keep up with Baker's,
I'm with you.
Like
I'm just saying.
Kyler Murray could be today QB3.
Yeah.
He doesn't, he's not, that's 3.
I said I'd swap those 2 out, but like I get it. Somewhat.
Yeah, I understand it. Yeah. I got you.
I just want to exercise caution with to Big Co's point, Casey. Yeah, I 100% agree that it's still going to be really good for Baker. He's got the stench off of, he's got that brown stench off of him, and the being cut 3 times in like however many months or whatever it was, and now he's a franchise quarterback. But I wanted to caution everybody against thinking that 4,541 is the norm and not the exception. It's much more likely that we get a 2023 output where he was 4,000 and like 28 to 30, and that's still going to be really good. But
really good.
That's more QB 10 to 11 than it is QB 4 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I mean, I'm 100%. I understand the vision. I mean, obviously he committed to the direction when he went with Ibuka. I mean, when he Baker and then he gets Ibuka. Like you're building that stack and hoping that pays off for you. Then he takes Jordan Love too. I'm not as keen on a bounce back just because the Packers won so many games when they started committing to running the ball. But I see the path where Jordan Love could get back to more of that 2023 where he was a top 5 or 6 quarterback, whatever he was. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. I just wanted to get that bit in about Baker, and I think that's more where we land this year as opposed to the 4,541.
Yeah. I don't mind swapping the like I said, the Debo Baker 7 and 8. I might do something different there, but I do like this Ibuka burden. And again, I don't know if that costs, if that's correct or not. But taking 2 shots on really good rookies right there, like you want the fact that you took a shot on those 2 rookie wide receivers, you just need really one of those guys to pan out.
Yeah.
And either one, and then that's a fantastic pick. And who the rookie wide receiver it's going to pan out that isn't, Tet McMillan, as far as volume, is who knows. But I like that double tap kind of there on that. So anything else before we wrap this up? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, just taking a shot here and there. Sometimes like the supreme upside, like Luther Burden in a redraft league, he could completely let you down, but he could also catch fire and he could get in your lineup and never come back out. Right. That's a guy you could drop him by week 4, and that's fine. It is what it is. But the home run cut that you took at the end of the 11th is completely worth that home run cut.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's very well possible that he ends up being the top target earner for the Bears if things pan out the way. I mean, obviously we don't have anything from minicamp or OTAs to go off of because he was dealing with the soft tissue stuff, but Yeah. Ball if you're talking about Luther Burden being the type of talent that he is in that offensive environment. Like if they're manufacturing touches for him and just letting him just create, it could get ugly.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap up this redraft discussion. We'll be bringing plenty more redraft mocks your way again, and just straight up redraft content will be coming your way sometime in the next month. Got a new channel, gonna have a new podcast feed, got all sorts of good stuff. We'll be doing a Dynasty mock maybe Wednesday this week, so we're gonna keep moving it with the lives. When news and notes will be back as soon as we have news and notes. We thought this might be a little bit of a slow period for that. As soon as that comes back, we'll be hammering that live too. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed on the podcast feed. Make sure you've give us those 5-star reviews. Make sure you're over on the free Discord. Make sure if you want more content, you're on the on the $5 holler over there. We've been streaming best balls, about to bring you some live best balls as well. So all sorts of good stuff coming down the pipe here from the FFD guys. Anybody got anything else before we sign off?
Had a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. Again, June. So we appreciate you guys. We're trying to do this now and get it dialed in. So when we're in those last 2 weeks, 3 weeks of August where everybody's redrafts popping off, we got this shit dialed in and we can help you guys win some money. So until next time, I'm Casey. That's Big Co. Old Chevrolet over there. We'll see you next time.